So I want to talk to you today about resurrection do-overs, especially if you have forgotten who you are or what it is you're supposed to do. And I looked up a definition of what a do-over is, or a redo, and what it says is the second, third, or fourth chance to do again what you once done unsatisfactorily. Okay, now can you relate? Have you ever had those kind of things happen? You know, I often wish that I could go back in history and do over many things. You know, and I heard this story about a Baptist guy by the name of Philip who went to the horse races one day, and so he didn't know too much about how this all worked, and so what he did was he watched what was going on down on the track, and he saw at one point before one of the races that there was a Catholic priest in a collar down there, and so the Catholic priest went over to one of the horses, number 15 actually, and put his hand on the head of the horse and said something over him, and then left. And then what Philip noticed was that indeed, at that race, horse 15 came out number 1. So then the second time, you know, he was looking down there on the track, and there was the priest again doing the same thing to another horse on the forehead of the horse, and that was number 8. And then the race started, and number 8 won. So what he decided to do then was he decided that he was going to go down to the ATM machine and take out as much money as he could and start to play. And so what he noticed then whenever he went back was that the priest went down to another horse, this time number 7. And he touched him on the forehead, touched him on the eyes, also touched him on the mouth, went down to the hoofs, and he said, "Oh, I'm betting on this one." So he takes all his money down and he puts it on this horse number 7. So the race starts, and so the horses start to make their way around, and before the horses got to the first curve, number 7 falls flat down and is dead. So this guy says, "I've got to go and talk to that priest." So he goes and finds him during one of the breaks, and he says, "What is this? You blessed number 7, you know, and he won. You blessed number 8, and he won. You blessed number 15, and it won. You know, and what happened to me here?" And he said, "That's the problem with you, Baptist, is you don't know the difference between a blessing and the last rites." See, a big difference there, right? So you got to know your stuff. So I bet anything that guy wished he had a chance to do a redo, huh? So there's always needs to do redos. And the good news, my brothers and sisters, today is that this gospel and that first reading says there are redos aplenty for us. See, we don't have to live in the perfectionisticness of this saying that you only get one chance to make a first impression. See, I used to believe that once. You know, it's not true. You know, we live more in this idea of if at first you don't succeed, try again. You see, there's always a second chance. Now, isn't it wonderful on your computers to have Control-Z? I love that. You know, so you know whenever you hit Control-Z, it undoes everything that you just got done doing, and I love that. You know, because it gives me instant redo. You know, or some of you might know this. I just learned this the other day. Was whenever PNC Park opened for the first game, that Michael Keaton, who is a native Pittsburgher, right? He was asked to come and throw in the first pitch, and so he did. And whenever he threw in the first pitch, it actually hit the ground before it hit the catcher's mitt. You know, so all this dust came up, and everyone was booing him and everything like that. And so he says, "Please give me a second chance, give me a redo." And they did, and this next pitch, smack down the middle, right into that catcher's mitt. In fact, the umpire even said, "Steve Reich." You know, it was that good. See, second chances, redos. You may have watched the Oscars in 2017 whenever Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty presented for Picture of the Year. And so Warren got the card, and so he had announced, "And the winner is," and he was fumbling with opening it and couldn't get it open, and then all of a sudden he gave it to Faye, and Faye opened it and said, "La La Land." And everyone's there, "Yay!" And all the people from La La Land come up to receive the award and start their speeches, and they have 3 of them, and there's this little page that comes running out on the stage saying, "Oh no," And so he comes up with the real card, and it's actually Moonlight that won. And so it was so uncomfortable. I mean, like Jimmy Fallon, I guess it was, who had it, did the best he can to fix the situation, but it was just really comfortable. And so they decided in 2018, this past year, to have Faye and Warren back for this. And so whenever they came back to do the same award for Best Picture of the Year, the first thing Warren Beatty says, "It's good to be back," and everyone started to laugh. And then Faye Dunaway in her what shall I call it? Her exaggerated, hyperbolic way that I just love. She said, as they say, let's see if I can get it. As they say, presenting is lovelier the second time around. It's just perfect, huh? Redos, the chance to get redos. I remember when I took my parents on a trip many years ago, and and it was to Rapid City, South Dakota, to see Mount Rushmore. And so we were really looking forward to that. And we had one day at Mount Rushmore, and so we were on the platform to see it, and it was raining and fogging. And so we actually went out there with our cameras, so excited, and we could not see the statues at all. I mean, our pictures are fog, and it was such a disappointment, such a disappointment. And then my dad died, years later and stuff like that. And so my job took me to Rapid City one day. And so I went to Rapid City, sun was out brilliantly, and so I went on that platform and I had a redo, and so what I was able to do was take everything, and my mother was still living and she was in a nursing home, and so I was able to take it back, and she had Alzheimer's, so she didn't fully understand, but she smiled. And I said, what a wonderful time to do a redo. You see, that's what we get. And so that's what I think is a good focus. There's so many things you can focus on today's readings, but I think this is one that I believe a lot of us need, that there is a chance to do a redo. So let's examine the scriptures here for a minute. So the first thing, and I already mentioned it, Saul becomes Paul. What a redo that is, huh? I mean, such a change of a name too. And then Peter gets a chance to redo almost word for word, 3 times perfectly the denial. Yes, I love you, Lord. Do you love me, Peter? Yes, I love you, Lord. Do you love me, Peter? And then Peter gets hurt. And he says, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. Now, a lot of people say, now, why did Jesus do that? Because Jesus was reinstating him into who he was. Now, a little bit of a Bible background here, a little Bible study just for one moment, is this. Every gospel has this story in it, okay, about Jesus' denial. And but the 3 synoptics, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they have him denying something totally different than what John has them denying. So if you notice in the synoptics, in Mark, Matthew, and Luke, what Peter denies is who Jesus is. He says, I don't know the man. See? And but he doesn't do that in John. What he denies in John is this question: aren't you one of his disciples? And he says, I am not. See, it's a little bit different, It's significantly different. See, that's why Jesus doesn't have any need to forgive him, because he didn't do anything to affront Jesus. What Peter did there was he denied who he was. See, Peter is a disciple. Now, I don't know about you. I can relate to that. I deny who I am. I've done it for years in many different kinds of ways, and I bet some of you have done that as well. So it's really a bigger denial when you deny yourself. Now, I have a couple things I want to read to you. Some of you might know this. There's a Unigo Do-Over Scholarship Award every year. So people that are going into colleges, they can apply for this do-over, and if you can write a great story about the do-over, you can win a scholarship. So last year's winner wrote this. I think you might find this interesting. It's called A Letter to the One Who Should Have Been My First Love. Okay? I'm sorry about all the times that I told you to change, thinking that if you did, maybe I'd finally love you. I'm sorry that I dismissed all of your dreams while trying to force you to grow up quicker. I'm sorry that I never nursed your potential to be brilliant until you thought that it was too late. I'm sorry that you had to watch me search for love and purpose in the approval arms of others when you tried to offer me everything I needed. I'm sorry I didn't give you the respect you so deserved, that I didn't teach you to demand it. I'm sorry that I can't undo the years I spent avoiding alone time with you, or take back the lies I whispered in your ear during moments of confidence to remind you of who I thought you were. I thank God that even without my love and despite my neglect, you became a woman of strength and an inspiration. I thank God that you never gave up on me. I can't wait to see what you become. Love yourself. Isn't that neat? Okay, so that's kind of like what Peter did. See, Peter is denying his identity, who he is. That's big, big and strong. So what does Jesus do? Gives him a chance 3 times to recapture who he is. Okay. And then, psychologists tell us that there's 2 things that really make human beings healthy. One is a sense of belonging, and the other one is a sense of purpose. See, and so what Jesus was giving him there is, you belong, Peter. See, you belong. Here's your identity. You belong. It's not about having to fit in. You don't have to change yourself to fit into the group. That's not how this works. That's not how the kingdom works. The kingdom works like this. The group accepts you for who you are, as you are. That's what you forgot. You're a disciple. And so Peter says, well, of course, I love you, Lord. So he answers correctly. And then here's his purpose. Feed my lambs. Tend my sheep. Feed my sheep. So, belonging and purpose. Identity and purpose. 2 of the most important things that we have in our life. So, I don't know about you, but I have strayed from both from time to time. So the good news is we get a chance to get it back. An incredible way to have a do-over. So we get to replay what we didn't do the way we wanted to do. So I have another little thing here. You probably know this one. It's done by a lady by the name of Portia Nelson. And it's called An Autobiography in 5 Short Chapters. Real short. See if you can relate to this. Chapter 1. I walk down a street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm hopeless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever for me to find my way out. Chapter 2. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes me a long time to get out. Chapter 3. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. It's a habit. My eyes are open, though, because I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. In chapter 5, I walk down another street. Always a chance for a redo, right? See? So as we get closer. Now, what is it that you have to redo? Okay, so there's all kind of different things that go on in our lives. I was talking to a person recently that says, there's this one family member that I haven't seen for years, but she keeps reappearing everywhere I go. and so we got to talking a little bit more about that. I just can't figure it out. Not only is she on social media, but I saw her at the supermarket. I haven't seen her there for years, and I see her there, and I see her there, and I see her there. I wonder what God's doing with this, he said. And so we talked a little bit more, and she realized that there was a little offense that she had done to this family member, and she left, our conversation saying, I think I have an understanding of why I'm running into her a lot. And so she decided to redo that relationship. I was talking to another person recently who told me that he, in his job before retirement, he used to meet with a lot of people face-to-face that would come for advice. He was the boss. And he said that he had so many of those people to talk to all the time that he would talk to them, but he wouldn't really pay attention to them. So what he found himself doing is he wouldn't look them in the eye. He wouldn't really care that much. It was just a job. And so he said now he makes amends for that. He redoes that. And people that ask of his time, he stops what he's doing and looks at them. See, it's a redo. Maybe it's that whenever your kids were growing up, maybe you didn't have enough funds or wherewithal to do the kind of things that you wish you could have done. And then all of a sudden, you have a grandchild. And you can redo stuff, you see, that you didn't get a chance to do. Or maybe you at one time went to church, and church was like, and it just really didn't work for you. And now you're back. And so maybe it's a redo in your future. Or like me, look at my incredible miracle. I was a priest 30 years ago for 2 years. Okay? Then I couldn't be a priest anymore. So I went off doing my life. Isn't this an incredible story that I get to redo it? And some people say to me, but you're so energized. Oh, Holy Week, didn't Holy Week take a toll on you? I said, heck no, I've been waiting for this for all these years. You see, a redo. It's a redo. There's opportunities to always redo. And that's what I think our invitation is today. Now, here's what Peter found out with the resurrected Christ. He found out that, you know what the story is. So after resurrection, then Jesus ascends to the Father. So in human form, he leaves the earth, right? So this feed my sheep, tend my sheep thing, this is pretty significant. There's only 2 times in John that we hear the shepherd story. So in this chapter 21 and then in chapter 10, we're going to get this next week. It's the thing on the good shepherd. Okay, next week we'll get that. And so here's what Peter understands in his new identity, the identity that he's continuing. His new identity is, you, Peter, are the shepherd. You, Peter, are the shepherd. See, that's what's going on. The good shepherd. You're the good shepherd. And so that's what a resurrected Christ, whenever you have that lift in that view, that perspective from resurrection, you start to get these very incredible revelations. See? You're going to take my place. And first thing you're going to see is abundance. 153 fish, and they're all big. You see? And now, have breakfast with me. Jesus is cooking on that day. Have breakfast with me, and then I'll help you to redo, make up for what you did, because there's a little fixing going on here. Now, go out and understand that you will have life, and life to its abundance. See, that's the promise. That's the resurrection promise. Now, go out there and be a good shepherd, and let other people know that too. And my brothers and sisters, as he, so we. See, this is not just a call for Peter. This is a call for every one of us who are in this place today. You are the good shepherd. You are the good shepherd. You are the good shepherd. All of us are the good shepherd. That's our identity. And here's what our work is. Our purpose: go out and feed and tend. Feed and tend. You belong. That's your identity. What do you do matters. Go out and feed and tend. That's the job. Find out how, with that thought in mind, God wants you to redo and renew and have a wonderful do-over.